Hey everybody, welcome to today's video. Today's video, I wanted to publish out immediately. I've posted before issues with data breaches. It's important to protect our credit. The reality is if someone hacks and gets your personal information, it's a disaster. I've had it happen to me. Someone with a common name like myself, Alex Hernandez in Miami, as my mom would say, throw a rock and you're going to hit 10 of us. So my mom was always sarcastic. But you have to go through the steps of removing that these credit if it's a creditor, they say no, that's the right person. I mean, I've been served with lawsuits that have nothing to do with me. I was once even rejected for a car loan because it said I had, I think, 5 foreclosures down in the Keys. For those of you in Miami, I'm talking about Monroe County, the Key Largo, Key West. I never owned property in Key Largo, so I had to clean up that mess to go get my car loan, etc. So you don't want that to happen to you. Now the reason I'm saying this is because of two reasons. One is I have to practice what I preach. I'm going to do it today. I've been talking about it. I just don't trust Doge. I don't think anybody does and what they're doing. And of course, with access to Social Security and everything else, we saw recently, yesterday, Pete Hegseth would send out plans for war plans. They sent it out via the Signal chat, which included a journalist. So somehow someone gets hold of our information, it's going to be a mess to pick it up. So I say that is because I'm going to freeze my credit today. I got to stop talking about it and do it. If you don't know how freezing the credit works, it's just simple enough. Nobody will be able to get credit in your name because you froze it. When you unfreeze it, then you can even get credit. But even if it's your accounts are frozen, you won't be able to do it until you undo it. You can do it through the three major credit bureaus: Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. But that's not what I'm talking about today. Today is another type of situation. It's not a data breach, but I'm going to call it a legal data breach. And that is the DNA company 23andMe has filed for bankruptcy. Why is this important? How does it affect your data? Because they have your data, they have your DNA. And so the problem is when you file for bankruptcy, remember, as I've said in prior videos and I've said in my blogs, that what's not protected, what we call exemptions in bankruptcy. So I just say protections because it's easier. Why use the legal term? What's not protected belongs to the bankruptcy estate. So if there's too much equity in your car, then you have to pay that back or you lose your car. And for businesses, it's the assets of the business, right? A business is not going to have any exemptions. So whatever a business owns, computers, etc., all that gets liquidated when a business files for bankruptcy. The problem with 23andMe is, what are their assets? Well, sure, the computers and all the machines that they have to do the DNA testing, but they have your data. And so the way bankruptcy works is the business, whether it's an individual or person, the assets, the steps are the same. It all goes for sale. The money, basically goes at an auction and the highest bidder gets that, whatever it is. So for example, I've posted about Red Lobster when they would close one location. They even closed one where I used to have an office many years ago. The highest bid gets all that, whatever's at the restaurant. They get the freezers, they get all the stainless steel equipment, they get the chairs, tables, tiny silverware, glasses, they get all that. And this is no different. The only difference is we're not talking about a restaurant, we're talking about a company that has your DNA. And so now your DNA could be literally bought by anyone. You can buy everyone's DNA. All you got to do is go to the auction and have the highest bid, and guess what? You have all that information on millions of people and their DNA profiles. The problem is you don't want that. That's why I never did 23andMe. I always felt extremely uncomfortable, and I've talked about that in my classes before. I don't want a company to have my DNA. I just don't trust it. Sorry, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just don't want a company to have my DNA. And by the way, they've been hacked. I think it was something like 6 million profiles were accessed, right? Was it 6 million or 6 years ago? Don't quote me on that, but they were hacked. Where millions of profiles, they gained access to that. Why would you want someone to have your DNA profile? I wouldn't want it to happen. If I go to a hospital, fine, I get it, but why give it voluntarily? I got issues with that. Now, I know many of you did. There's a lot of great stories behind that, right? You met family you didn't have, etc. And that's wonderful until right now, that anybody could literally win that auction and have your personal sensitive DNA profile. What's the answer? How do you prevent that? You need to contact 23andMe immediately and tell them, delete. Delete everything about my file before this goes any further. Other than that, someone's going to come in and buy that information. Again, they're going to buy all the assets that belong to 23andMe. They're going to buy the computer monitors. They're going to buy the machines. They get everything. It's like they literally take over a business, but their computers and everything else aren't worth anything. What is worth money is your sensitive information. So keep that in mind. If you created a profile with 23andMe, it's time to go back to them and tell them, delete my information so that you don't have any further issues, whether it's Doge and Social Security and your Social Security number and now your DNA profile. All right. Any questions or comments, feel free to post them in the comment section below. Feel free to like and subscribe my video. And one more important thing, now might be a good time to freeze your credit. All right. So that's my alarm there. So freeze your credit. So in case something does happen, you are protected. All right. Take care, everyone. Be safe, and I'll catch you guys at the next video.